Hopkins in his 2022 debut.
That is all D-Hop right there. Man, it's good to see him.
Dalton on first down. Fires over the middle. The ball is tipped into the air and it's picked off at the 30-yard line. Marco Wilson high steps and then he does a flip into the end zone for the touchdown. Marco Wilson with a pick six. Dalton straight drop, throws over the middle, and a one-handed interception by Isaiah Simmons in midfield. And Simmons in, back to back, interception returns for touchdown by the Cardinals up the end of the half.
NFC West looking a little different than it did after Week 6. DeAndre Hopkins is back, and now Christian McCaffrey is a member of the San Francisco 49ers. We're breaking down Thursday Night Football and that trade between the 49ers and Carolina Panthers coming up in just a little bit. Hello, and welcome to NFL Now. I'm Omar Reese in the NFL Network newsroom. Also still to come, we're going to have the latest on the injury front to get you ready for Week 7 action. And Jim Nagy, the executive director of the Senior Bowl, will let us know which quarterbacks in college to look out for in the 2023 NFL Draft. But we start with that blockbuster trade last night. After parts of 6 seasons, Carolina Panthers superstar Christian McCaffrey is on the move. The number 8 overall pick of the 2017 draft is on his way to San Francisco to become a member of Kyle Shanahan's 49ers. Of course, that made him happy. Reunites the Shanahans and McCaffreys. Here's Kyle's reaction a little earlier today.
Was there a
fist pump?
Yeah, what? A hug? What we get?
No, it was more a big smile, and then like, all right, I got to go back and redo third downs, redo red zone, redo everything.
Awesome.
And then it was like, wait a second, we still got to come and pass a physical. He's not going to be at practice, and then so I'm still up in the air on whether we're going to be able to get him here for Sunday or not. But that's kind of what I'm just kind of in a wait and see approach right now. I'm sure Christian's in the air right now, and hopefully that physical will go all right, and then I'm sure I'll see him after practice, and we'll just see where he's at and go from there.
And so this is late last night. I would say like 9:30, 9:45. So let's just go in, give me your best offer. They gave me the best offer. The other team could up it a little bit by where their pick was. They did that, and so we took that. That was kind of like the best and final on both. It was close, but San Francisco won out.
For more on the details of this blockbuster trade, we welcome in Ian Rappaport, Taylor Bisciotti, who is at the 49ers facility, and Mark Ross, former executive in the National Football League. And Ian, we'll start with you. We heard General Manager Scott Fitterer describe how everything went down last night, but tell us about the lead up to what made this happen to come to fruition last night.
Yeah, this really started when Matt Rule was fired as the Carolina Panthers head coach, really led teams to call the Panthers and call GM Scott Fitterer and say, who could we trade for? And we've actually already seen 2 trades. The Carolina Panthers have made one, Robbie Anderson, who we saw last night, and now Christian McCaffrey. And he talked about the 2 finalists. My understanding was it was the Rams and the 49ers, and what the Panthers wanted was essentially a first-round pick. That was the value. That was what they believed it would take to trade Christian McCaffrey. Neither of the 2 teams who were finalists had a first-round pick, so they had to make up for it in other ways. So what you saw was the San Francisco offer, which was a haul. It was a 2, a 3, a 4, and a future 5. If you look at that, you analyze it, it looks around to be a late first-round pick. That is the ballpark. That's what they wanted. Fitterer's right. Came down to it last night, and I would say the 49ers seem to be really in the lead, probably the most aggressive here, so it makes sense that they end up with him. And so McCaffrey now a member of the San Francisco 49ers. You know, we have seen a carousel of running backs for the 49ers through Kyle Shanahan's tenure. Maybe now finally they have some stability with one of the more talented players in the NFL.
And it seems like every year the NFC West has an arms race, whether it was the Rams last year with OBJ and Von Miller, always seemed to up the ante there. Mark Ross, you saw the conditions of the trade, terms of the agreement. What are your thoughts on this blockbuster?
Omar, it's interesting you mentioned the arms race. This is that all-in theory once again, where San Francisco thinks that Christian McCaffrey is that one piece, that final piece to get them to the Super Bowl. And you talk about the Rams and what they did. The difference when I look at it is the Rams went all in sort of on premier players, premier positions, and that was Von Miller, pass rusher, OBJ, the exceptional pass-catching playmaker and pass catcher, but they had the quarterback stability there with Matthew Stafford. And even the year before, when the Bucs sort of started this all in, and with Tom Brady going and then bringing in playmakers around him and bringing his buddy Gronk back, even AB. And this really has to be the philosophy of your whole organization, to say the owner, the head coach, the general manager on the same page. Like, this is our philosophy. This is what we're going to do. We all have to agree on this. And obviously that's what the 49ers have done. Is Christian McCaffrey and the running back position the same as those sort of playmaking positions I mentioned with the Rams and the Bucs? I don't know. It remains to be seen. But they feel as if Christian McCaffrey is just not a running back, but more of a receiver or a playmaker, as we've seen in other pieces in their offense, like a Deebo Samuel. So certainly he makes them a better team, especially on third down and as a pass catcher. Will he put them over the top? Wide open to the NFC, so I think they're right there to claim the East crown.
Yeah, Kyle Juszczyk, George Kittle, also playmakers for that offense. We know Kyle Shanahan was all smiles, he said a little earlier. Taylor, what's been the reaction from the locker room?
It's buzzing. The players are really excited. I spoke to George Kittle last night, and he said, what a gift for national tight ends. Say, what more could you want than Christian McCaffrey on your team? But it really does address two of the 49ers' biggest needs. Kyle Shanahan's been saying it all year. They need a consistent running back, and now consistent running game, and now they have an elite #1 running back in their backfield. He also has been complaining about the third downs. They've had a really hard time converting third downs. Well, since Christian McCaffrey entered the league in 2017, no running back has more scrimmage yards than Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey has landed in San Jose. He is going to go to his physical. Once he passes, they can finalize the trade, and then he is expected to come to the facility and be at practice. He's not going to practice, but he is going to watch practice, and hopefully George Kittle can receive his present, the biggest gift.
Christian McCaffrey, of course, a former star at Stanford, so he returns to the Bay, and the 49ers gearing up for a huge showdown with the Kansas City Chiefs. Taylor, we'll see you back a little later to break down that one. Ian Mark will also have you on a little bit later. Thank you very much. And here is the Carolina Panthers reaction. Thank you, Run CMC. After 5+ years with the Carolina Panthers, they say goodbye to their superstar running back. Last night, Thursday Night Football, the Arizona Cardinals welcoming back DeAndre Hopkins after serving a 6-game suspension after violating the PED policy for the league. Kyler Murray frustrated that the call wasn't in, lets Cliff Kingsbury know. With about 2:32 to go in the second quarter, they would have to get separated from DeAndre Hopkins, peacemaker there. It's going to be Keontae Ingram scoring one of his 2 touchdowns on the day. He takes a bow, certainly. Good game for him. And then the Cardinals defense takes over after that. Isaiah Simmons, the one-handed grab, looking extremely athletic, takes it back 56 yards. Cardinals lead 28-14 and go on to win 42-34. Of course, DeAndre Hopkins, more than just a peacemaker last night, had 10 catches, went over 100 yards for the first time since December 2020. But look at that impact. The win-loss column certainly stands out. 9-2 with DeAndre the last couple of years, 3-7 without him. And you see Kyler Murray's numbers up across the board. So as we welcome in our Jim Trotter for much more on this matchup, what did you see from DeAndre Hopkins, now a part of this offense once again?
You know, Omar, I saw an offense that was still a work in progress, and in talking to people internally about that, they're preaching patience as it relates to this pass game. Look, we saw DeAndre with 10 catches for 103 yards, and the rest of that offense, or the pass-catching group, had 10 receptions for 101. So clearly Kyler was looking to get him involved. What we have to remember is that they've basically gone back to the drawing board here. You know, with Hollywood Brown out, now Kyler Murray has to get used to, again, working with DeAndre, but also Robbie Anderson comes in new. He only got 1 target last night. They're going to have to develop a relationship. So for all of these receivers and Kyler Murray, it is going to take a moment to build that chemistry and that rapport to where this offense can be effective in the passing game. So I would anticipate Kyler's going to lean on DeAndre. We know that because he is such a tremendous talent. But they still have to work to get everyone else involved, because who did you not see last night make an impact? A.J. Green. So Kyler's got to figure all of this out. I'm told, be patient. It'll happen. But for now, the focus from Kyler's standpoint, appears to be on trying to get the ball to DeAndre, and for good reason.
Yeah, A.J. Green hardly playing last night. They were also without starting center Rodney Hudson and starting running back James Conner. So certainly a lot to look forward to if you're the Cardinals, and they're staying in the hunt now, the same amount of wins as the rest of the NFC West rivals. Jim Trotter, thank you very much. Meanwhile, in Dallas, they're getting ready to welcome back Dak Prescott. He missed the last 5 games because of that thumb injury. He said earlier in the week that he is going to start against the Detroit Lions on Sunday, and the teammates there, you see, more than happy to have him back. All smiles in the locker room. For much more on this game coming up between the Cowboys and the Lions, we welcome in Jane Slater. And Jane, what more can you tell us about what the reception's been like with Dak and his anticipated return to the starting lineup?
As you can imagine, the locker room was full of excitement this week, and that's not to disrespect Cooper Rush, who went 4-1 in Dak Prescott's absence. But just having Dak, even on the sidelines this season, when he had that injury, he talked about that. He said, when he had the ankle injury, he wasn't necessarily able to do that. Of course, they didn't put him on IR, so he was able to be fully involved and engaged throughout this process. And during that time, he said he learned a lot about the offense on the sidelines. Now, I did ask him, because I didn't notice that he was wearing a brace during the limited portion that we saw. Remember yesterday, we didn't get to see a whole lot of practice as we were expecting to see him throw. He said he does not anticipate wearing a brace on Sunday. He says he doesn't feel limited there. He might wear a little KT tape, just a rehabilitation tape that helps with inflammation. But other than that, he's good to go. No trips back to Dr. Cooper, who did the surgery. He'll just sort of stay in touch with them. But talking to a lot of these players, man, they say the ball's got a lot of zip, and he looks like Dak.
Yeah, Dak, of course, missed the last 5 games. Cooper Rush 4-1 in his stead. So now they welcome in the Detroit Lions, who have been a tale of 2 teams, Jane. Are we going to see the one that we saw the first few weeks of the season where they led the league in offense, or the one that got shut out against New England?
Great question. I actually do a podcast for the Cowboys during the week, and we had Danny Rogers, the Detroit Lions, and I sort of asked her about that yesterday, and she said Dan Campbell and this group have been doing what they can to sort of motivate this team, and that's benching players. They've had healthy scratches, and to your point, this is an offense that's proven that they can put up the points despite that shutout to the Patriots ahead of the bye week. Now, 2 players that we're really keeping an eye on ahead of Sunday is, of course, DeAndre Swift and DJ Chark. Swift said he was trending in that direction. That was his hope to play on Sunday. DJ Chark, he was in a walking boot, so it doesn't seem as optimistic. But defensively, this team is really struggling. We talked about this in the last hour. They are last in a number of categories, and then added a host of injuries, and this could be a tough one for them on Sunday. But we talked to the Cowboys about this. Don't look at this as a trap game. It is an uncommon opponent, an opponent the Cowboys haven't seen since 2019, so they spent a little extra time on the tape this week to make sure that they are, in fact, prepared.
Yeah, Jared Goff playing well as well. 5th in the league in touchdown passes despite having a bye already, so look forward to him continue to play well against that challenging Cowboys defense. Jane Slater, thank you very much. Meanwhile, injury news to report here heading into Week 7. Ian Rappaport back with us now. The Baltimore Ravens dealing with a host of injuries. What more can you tell us about them?
Well, first of all, Mark Andrews missed a couple of days of practice this week, and something that really had to convince him to do. Hates missing practice, but dealing with a little bit of a knee injury. He was back at practice today, talked to reporters right afterward, and expressed confidence, a lot of confidence that he will be able to be out there. Described his body as being ready. That is a good sign that one of the best tight ends in the NFL will be out there. Meanwhile, J.K. Dobbins felt his knee tighten up just a little bit after their last game. Has not been to practice yet this week. Not a good sign for his availability. We'll see if they get Gus Edwards back. The timing might be right there. We'll see. But just does not sound optimistic about J.K. Dobbins being able to get out on the field Sunday.
Yeah, certainly would be good news if they can get Gus the Bus back, one of the more enjoyable players I enjoy watching. Meanwhile, it is go time for the Raiders, 1-4, coming off their bye. If they're going to make a move and save the season, now is the time, but they're dealing with a couple major injuries. Ian, what more can you tell us about that?
We'll start with Hunter Renfrow, their go-to receiver, who missed practice yesterday with a hip injury. But this seems like it's headed in the right direction with Josh McDaniels, the head coach, telling reporters that he does expect Hunter Renfrow to be out there, and he expressed optimism that he will be able to play. We'll see a little bit about Darren Waller. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury the last couple weeks, really through the bye. And McDaniels, I would say, was optimistic, expressed some optimism there, but not as sure with Hunter Renfrow. We'll wait and see where Waller is, if he practices, and how he handles things the next 24 hours before we know for sure whether he'll be out on the field.
Yeah, certainly the Raiders looking to get things back on track against the Houston Texans this weekend in Las Vegas. Ian Rappaport, thank you very much. We do know for sure that the Dolphins are getting Tua Tagovailoa back. What kind of impact he'll make against the Steelers as Sunday Night Football returns to Miami. That's next on NFL Now.